Welcome to another edition of Quoth the Raven, Lewis Bright Raven. I'm your host, Lewis Bright Raven, and joining me on this happy Halloween 2025 Friday night movie talk, Great Pumpkin and
Great
Venom.
Pumpkin.
We are Venom, and we welcome you.
I'm sorry, Linus, but the Great Pumpkin you're looking for is in another pumpkin patch.
Yes. All right, Chris and John. Wait for John to get his glasses on so we can actually see what he's doing.
Right? All right.
How was your week, gentlemen?
Pretty good. Can't complain.
Neither
It was a
can I.
week. It went fast, I don't know. Maybe it was because Halloween was coming up into the month.
Or maybe it's because you like got exhausted doing your figuring out your medical prep.
Had to figure out insurance. That's always not fun at all. It's pretty horrible.
Was that for both of you or just the missus?
That was for Angie.
Okay.
Through her work.
Yeah, and what do you get?
I am on Medicaid.
Oh, okay. That's cool. Alrighty. Well, let's get to work, I guess, because you've got to get going to another show right after us.
Well, it's bad movie night, and being Halloween, we're going to have a double feature, so.
Yep. Tales from the Crypt, 1972. John, what you read?
All right.
Oh, you just froze.
Oh, Spectrum.
Yeah.
Such a cruel, cruel mistress she is.
Am I back on now?
Yeah.
You are, yes.
Okay.
And then it froze again. Oh, dear. I don't know. Try again.
Directed by Freddie Francis, screenplay by Milton Subotsky, based on Tales from the Crypt and the Vault of Horror by Al Feldstein, Johnny Craig, and Bill Gaines, produced by Milton Subotsky and Max Rosenberg, starring Joan Collins, the legendary Peter Cushing, Roy Dotrice, Richard Green, Ian Hendry, Patrick McGee, Barbara Murray, Nigel Patrick, Robin Phillips, Sir Ralph Richardson, and many more. Production companies are Amicus Productions and Metromedia Producers Corporation, distributed by Cinerama Releasing Corporation. Release date March 8th, 1972. Running time 1 hour 32 minutes. Budget of 170,000 pounds, which equals to about 380,000 US dollars. And it had a box office take of $3,027,585. So it most definitely made a profit.
We're gonna we're gonna read, like, you're gonna read some and I'm gonna read some and Chris is gonna read some.
All right.
What it's about. So go ahead and start.
An anthology film consisting of 5 separate segments based upon short stories from the EC comic series Tales from the Crypt by Al Feldstein, Johnny Craig, and Bill Gaines. In the film, 5 strangers, played by Joan Collins, Ian Hendry, Robin Phillips, Richard Green, and Nigel Patrick, in a crypt, encounter the mysterious crypt keeper, played by Sir Ralph Richardson, who makes each person in turn foresee the manner of their death. It is one of several Amicus horror anthologies produced during the 1970s. Each segment is based upon a classic tale from the famous EC comics.
And All Through the House, from the Vault of Horror, number 35, from February and March of 1954. The beautiful and glamorous Joanne Clayton, played by Joan Collins, kills her much older husband, Richard, played by Martin Body, on Christmas Eve to collect his insurance. He prepares to hide his body, but is interrupted by a radio announcement of a homicidal maniac lurking in the night. She sees the killer, who is dressed in a Santa Claus costume, but she cannot call the police without exposing her own crime. She locks up the doors and windows before dragging her husband's body and plummeting it down into the basement. After cleaning up the murder scene, Joanne attempts to phone the police with the intention of making them believe that the maniac killed her husband. However, her young daughter Carol, believing the maniac is Santa, unlocks the door and lets him into the house, whereupon he strangles Joan to death by the fire. Yay! Joan Collins, playing an evil, conniving biatch, gets her comeuppance. Collins, of course, will make a dynasty, and you know what that meant there, of a career playing evil women. But I'm not sure if this was the role that sent her down that path or not. Do you guys remember her playing like a real evil person before this role in any films earlier than this?
I don't.
No.
Okay, all right. Okay, well, there's that. Chris, you go ahead and go with the next
All
one.
right. Reflection of Death from Tales from the Crypt, number 23, April through May 1951. Carl Maitland, Ian Hendry, abandons his wife and children in order to be with the secretary, Susan Blake, Angela Grant. Soon after they drive off together, they are involved in a car accident. He wakes up having been thrown clear of the wrecked and burned car and attempts to hitchhike home. But everyone he meets reacts with horror upon seeing him. Arriving at his house, Carl sees his wife with another man. He knocks on the door, but she screams and slams the door. He then goes to see Susan, only to find that she is blind from the accident. She says that Carl died 2 years ago in the crash. Glancing at the reflective tabletop, he sees he has the face of a rotting corpse and screams in horror. Carl then wakes up and finds out that it was a dream, but the moment he does, the car crash occurs as previously seen. Poetic Justice from the Haunt of Fear 12, April 1952, James Eliot, Robin Phillip, lives with his father, Edward, across from the home of elderly dustman Arthur Edward Grimsdyke, Peter Cushing, who owns a number of dogs and entertains children in his house with stories and toys. While both the Elliots are snobs who resent Grimsdyke as a blight on their neighborhood, James strongly detests the old man enough to conduct a smear campaign against him, first having his beloved dogs taken away by animal control, although one of them returns to him, then persuading a member of the council to have him removed from his job, and later exploiting his parents' paranoid fears about child molestation. Unbeknownst to James, Grimsdyke dabbles in the occult and holds a seance by himself to confer with his late wife on a hilariously homemade Ouija board. On Valentine's Day, James sends Grimsdyke a number of poison pen valentines, supposedly from the neighborhood, the neighbors, driving the old man to suicide. Exactly 1 year later on Valentine's Day, Grimsdyke rises from the grave and takes revenge on James. The next morning, Edward finds his son bloodied and dead, with a note that reads, "Happy Valentine's Day. You were mean and cruel right from the start. Now you really have no." The final word is revealed by James still beating heart inside the folded end of the paper, horrifying Edward.
Okay, John.
All right. Wish You Were Here from The Haunt of Fear, number 22, November through December 1953. A variation on W. Jacobs' short story, The Monkey's Paw. Ineffective, ruthless businessman Ralph Jason, played by Richard Green, is close to financial ruin. His wife, Enid, played by Barbara Murray, notices for the first time the inscription on a Chinese figurine in the couple's collection, which grants 3 wishes to the owner. Enid decides to wish for a fortune, and surprisingly, the wish comes true, but Ralph is killed, seemingly in a car crash on the way to his lawyer's office to collect the money. The lawyer then advises Enid she will inherit a fortune from her deceased husband's life insurance plan. However, when she confides him of her wish, he warns her not to wish Ralph back to life, as he remembered the consequences of a similar story in which a mother wished her dead son back, only to be horrified by his gruesome appearance and forced to use the last wish to send him back to the grave. Enid, of course, ignores this advice, uses her second wish to bring him back the way he was just before the accident, but he is returned in his coffin, still dead, as his death was due to a heart attack immediately before the crash and caused by fright upon seeing the figure of death following him on a motorcycle. Once more, Gregory warns Enid not to make a final wish and just let Ralph rest in peace. As Gregory goes outside to get some fresh air, she uses her final wish to bring Ralph back to life and to live forever. When Gregory comes back inside, he discovers too late that Enid again went against his warning. Gregory points out to her that Ralph was embalmed and he is suffering from the effects of the embalming liquid. Enid tries to kill Ralph to end his pain, but because she wished for him to live forever, he cannot be killed. As a result, she has now trapped him in eternal agony and thus making her regret those last two wishes forever.
Advice from the Raven. When your loved ones die, let them stay dead. It never works out when they come back. And I don't mean that jokingly. I mean that as a caregiver for over 20 years after my mother passed away from a heart attack and stroke combo, and they brought her back. And I ended up having to be a caregiver, and she had a lot of misery and pain and agony for those years. So whether it's fictional or life, let them go. Blind Alleys from the Tales of the Crypt, number 46, February, March 1955. Major William Rogers, paid by Nigel Patrick, comes the new director of a home for the blind and exploits his position to live in luxury with his German Shepherd Shane, while his drastic financial cuts to food and heating reduce the residents' quality of life. Rogers gets his comeuppance, however, after he ignores the pleas of resident George Carter to both make the living conditions more bearable and later to get medical treatment for fellow resident Greenwood, who later dies from hypothermia. Carter leads a revolt to subdue the staff before locking Rogers and Shane in separate rooms in the basement, and then they construct a small maze of narrow corridors between the two homes. After going over 2 days without food, oh wow, 2 whole days, Rogers is released and forced to find his way through the maze for his freedom, getting past one door that's lined with razor blades once Carter turns the lights on. But Rogers finds his last obstacle to be a ravenous Shane who doesn't seem to recognize him. He flees back towards Rogers only for Carter to cut the lights off, and Rogers is heard screaming as the hungry dog catches up with him and kills him. Not the best story. It should have been like maybe a week or more before the dog got ravenous, but you know.
But I have to say, the ingenuity of those blind guys, like 10 blind guys, got more constructed than an entire freaking construction crew in Florida.
Yes, definitely. Or in DC.
Yeah. Like those guys can build some shit.
Yeah. After completing this final tale, the Crypt Keeper reveals that he was not warning them of what would happen, but telling them what had already happened, that they've all died without repentance. And there is one clue to that truth, the twist in that Joanne is still wearing the brooch that her husband had given her for Christmas just before she killed him. The door to hell opens up, and Joanne, Carl, James, Ralph, and Major Rogers all enter. Ralph enters first in the scene, falling down into a fiery abyss. And now, who's next? Asks the Crypt Keeper, turning his face to the camera as he says, perhaps you? And the scene pulls back as the entrance to the Crypt Keeper's lair is in flames. What did John think?
All right, so I've never read the EC comics, but I did watch some episodes of the HBO TV series back in the day, and I even watched the animated series Tales from the Crypt Keeper, which I actually thought was kind of cool. But I had no idea this film even existed until last week. when we were talking about it. Now, you should understand that, you know, if you grew up watching the HBO TV series, you should understand that this version is much more somber,
Boring.
than director Freddie Francis was chiefly known as a cinematographer and considered one of the best in the business, who shot everything from The Innocents with Deborah Kerr to The Elephant Man and Dune for David Lynch to Cape Fear for Martin Scorsese. But he also directed several films, including 1965's Dr. Terror's House of Horrors, which we reviewed here on the show back in March. Now, to me, this version of Tales from the Crypt is a spiritual successor to that film, in that they're both about 5 strangers who find themselves in an enclosed space with a mysterious stranger who reveals things about each of them. I think the cast is very good, but the 2 actors that really stand out for me are Sir Ralph Richardson and Peter Cushing. Now, of course, Richardson was a veteran of stage and screen, and I meant to add this here. He would go on to play the wizard Ulrich in Dragon Slayer, which we've also talked about on the show before.
Yes.
So Richardson's Crypt Keeper is a far cry from the wisecracking, ghoulish host of the TV series. He plays it totally straight and deadpan, and I think it's a wonderfully chilling performance. Cushing, of course, is a sci-fi horror icon, and this movie was 5 years before Star Wars. But here he brought real humanity to the role of Grimsdyke. You know, Grimsdyke is a man who lives simply, loves dogs and children, misses his dead wife, and is really unfairly treated by the greedy rich neighbor. And Cushing, I really made me feel for Grimsdyke, and he doesn't deserve any of the bad things that come his way. And I actually read that Cushing was depressed over having recently lost his own wife, and you can believe it. He channels that grief into his performance.
He also asked for this role in the film. He was originally offered the role of Richard in Wish You Were Here, and he said, "No, I want Grimsdyke." So yeah. I think that's it was also kind of a passion for him, this particular role, because I think it was part of it he was bored with being cast in certain roles, and this was something he wasn't really the person who's friendly to kids and stuff was not something he was normally doing. So I think that was really his heart out there on the performance. So
yeah, and he did a nice job. And of course, I have to mention the music. Now, I'm unfamiliar with the work of composer Douglas Gamley, but he did some nice work here. But what I really want to mention is the use of existing music. So the movie opens with the organ strains of Bach's Toccata and Fugue in D minor, which sets the mood quite nicely, and it's of course very well-known piece of classical music. If you didn't know the name, I guarantee you've heard it somewhere before. Like it was the first segment in Disney's Fantasia. It's been used in quite a few movies over the years, but it really sets the mood for this film. And also, in the first segment and all through the house, there is no original score. So the background music you're hearing is from the radio program that the husband was listening to before he was murdered, and it plays throughout the entire sequence. And it offers uplifting Christmas hymns such as "O Come All Ye Faithful" and "God Rest You Merry Gentlemen," as a stark contrast to what's going on screen. And I think it's very effective. I like the other stories as well. And overall, I quite enjoyed the movie. And I must say, oh, and one more thing about and all through the house, and I think I heard y'all mention this. It's like the jump scare when like she's like trying to shut the doors, and all of a sudden the hands read like that really got me.
That got me too.
That was a good jump scare.
I'd never seen that scene before, so that scared the crap out of me.
And I must say, while I don't find the movie to be overly gory, like that is some of the reddest red blood I think I've ever seen in a movie.
Right? Like,
just
Mommy, why is that lady scraping red paint off the carpet and pouring it? That's what it looks like.
But like that red blood, that was just like a rich red color.
Yeah, it looked like paint.
Well, Chris.
All right. Yeah, it's like, what? Yeah, the boring. Oh, come on. There you go. Boring ass movie. There were like 2 men under the age of 50 in it. I don't know. I think there was maybe I was just in a bad mood because I wanted more modern tales of Halloween this week, and I think like maybe 2 of them had a full head of hair. But now that I've listened to what John had to say, maybe I was being a bit too harsh on the film. Yeah, maybe, I don't know. I didn't like Dr. Terror's House of Horrors back in March much either. Maybe I just don't dig 1960s and 1970s British horror, serious horror, and it has to be more funny, campy Hammer horror style. Yes, absolutely. Like Body Bags by James Carpenter. Yeah, Carpenter.
Yeah. Okay. Have an apple, fat boy. Poo-poo on you. Anyway, I don't know why, but I didn't realize this was a film actually adapting EC stories when I first watched it. John had to mention that to me. I'm like, what? And I had to stop and think, well, yeah, that is what this is. Okay. Because the Crypt Keeper is so not the ghoulish comic version that we're kind of used to from the TV series.
No, it's like, why are we afraid of this doddering old man?
Anyway, I admit they kind of left out the sort of campy horror humor that often went with the stories, and British humor is drier than the Sahara Desert, I'll tell you that much. But this was, as John said, very much a spiritual successor to Dr. Terror's House of Horrors. Same director, same. Almost, if you were to watch these 2 films back to back, it'd be like watching the same movie almost. And I think that's another reason why Chris didn't like it as well. Because first off, he didn't like the first one, and then this is kind of the same thing over. And it's different stories, but it's like the pacing and some of the cinematography is very similar. But anyway, and John liked Dr. Terror a lot, so it kind of goes through. For me, I feel like this film is a step between Dr. Terror's House of Horror and the Tales from the Crypt TV series. It's like, because as we find out, several of these stories from this film were actually made for the HBO show. And all through the house had the woman renamed Elizabeth, played by Mary Ellen Trainor, who killed her husband Joseph, Marshall Bell, so she could take her daughter Carrie Ann and live with her boyfriend Vic. And then we had the axe-wielding maniac, played by Larry Drake. Do you remember that episode?
I do.
Yeah. And you probably liked that a lot better, didn't you, Chris?
I did.
Yeah. Yes. And then the Crypt Keeper, of course, stated at the end of that episode that Carrie was not harmed because the escaped maniac preferred older women. In pieces. Blind Alley's was now Revenge is the Nut, and it was about a beautiful blind girl named Sheila, portrayed by Terry Polo, who has to come live at the house for the blind, where the sadistic director Arnie Gruenwald, played by Anthony Zerbe, tries to sexually assault her. And in the end, Sheila and the other residents take the revenge in the same fashion as what we saw in the movie, with the dog and stuff. And Wish You Were Here was also similar to the TV series 7th-season episode Last Respects, in that they both basically recycled the Jacobs classic short story Monkey's Paw, and both were directed by Freddie Francis. Isn't that interesting? Like many of the show's episodes, Last Respects uses the title of an existing story from the comics, Tales from the Crypt number 23, but didn't use the story itself. The statue from this episode was now the original Monkey's Paw from a TV episode, and it now dealt with 3 sisters who came into possession of it. Yvonne Finger, Emma Sams, wishes for £1 million, and she and her sister Marley's, played by Julie Cox, are in a car crash where Marley's dies, and her life insurance brings the policy for £1 million. When the third sister, Dolores, wishes that Marley's was the way she was before the crash, she learns that she was actually killed by Yvonne. So in a form of revenge, Dolores gives her last wish to her sister, but she didn't say which sister she wanted to give it to, thus being the Monkey's Paw in its own game. The third wish is then transferred to the dead Marley's, who comes back from the dead to kill Yvonne. And I think Chris remembers all of these and probably liked all of those better than this film.
I did very much, yes.
Yeah. So
this film was the pacing was horrible, right? Like the pacing was just so long and drawn out. There were moments that were good, like when he's reading the newspaper and all of a sudden, blood splats on the paper when she hits him in the back of the head. That was a good moment. The jump scare was good. I thought the heart, the beating heart in the note that was particularly effective.
Yep. Okay, you're back, John.
Yeah, sorry about that.
And I'm sorry, but did either one of you want to punch that little shithead in the face that was, terrorizing Grimsdyke?
Yes.
Yeah, I wanted to punch, just.
That's the point. You're supposed to want to, know. So he did his job well in that regard.
Did.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, there were good elements of this, like you say, but like you say, the pacing was rather slow, and I don't think Francis is the best director. I think he's a great cinematographer. I just don't think he's that great of a director. The stories were all good for what they are, and I think, and I think that all the performances for what they were asked to do were very well done.
And Joan Collins back in the day, stunning.
So anyway, John, you gave it a 4 out of 5. Chris gave it a 2.5. And I'll give it a 3.5. I'll split the middle and try to be fair. Okay. Now we don't know what we're watching next week yet, because we were thinking we were going to do the oh shoot, I can't think of his name. The director,
James Gunn Superman.
Yes, James Gunn Superman, but we don't know yet if we actually have access to it. We know that John does. Chris and I are supposed to, but we went to the site where we thought it was, and now they're saying we got to pay for it.
I have access to it. It's just a question of whether you do.
Yeah. So I don't know. Let me see. Yeah, every time I go to it, it says I have to pay for it for some reason.
Well, that's all right. It's my choice next week, and we're watching Death Toilet.
No, we're not.
Death Toilet? I don't even want to know.
Just because my plumbing at my house needs to get work done does not mean we get to watch Death Toilet. I'm sorry.
It's Death Toilet or Deathbed, the bed that eats people. I think John would actually like that one. It was
Deathbed?
Yeah, it was made in like the 60s.
That doesn't mean anything. But we'll figure out something for next week and let you know. So, if it's not Superman, it'll. I don't know. I mean, because you don't have Disney Plus, do you, John?
No, I need to get it.
Yeah, which is surprising. I would expect you to have Disney Plus, if anybody.
I know.
But, you know, that's the only thing I can think of.
It's $11 for no ads, man. Come on, spring for it.
Anyway, we'll figure out something, though. And then next week, we'll be... Where'd it go? Oh, okay. I hope it went around. We'll be reviewing Kaiju number 8 from Monday Manga. And we got a whole bunch of fun stuff to review next week. Assuming Chris doesn't cancel us again. The last second. Hey, that's not fair. Right? I didn't mean to, right?
Right. Yes, it was not my fault.
Yeah. It's never your fault. There's always something going on. Oh, man. But, I mean, if we can get this to show up next week for Thursday's show, share a screen, you stupid computer. There we go. We got It Killed Everyone But Me. We got Dungeons and Dragons, The Fallbacks, and The Pale Knight, and Event Horizon, all from Chris next week.
Woohoo!
And then I've got Mercury Mouse, 10-Ton Titan Terrier, Blink and You'll Miss It, Electric Cowboy, comic book creator with Dave Stevens, and Robo Wolf. And John, you said what was it you said you were going to do next week?
Definitely Venom, Black, White, and Blood. Unfortunately, it came out yesterday, so I didn't get to read it yesterday. And Blue Falcon and Dynamite, definitely. And if I have time, I'll try to do a couple more, or one or two more.
Okay. So that's what we got coming on next week for that. And we'll have some fun stuff for Tuesday's crowdfunding night as well. So thanks for watching. Have a great Halloween rest of your evening. I hope the kids aren't bugging you too much at the door. And, you know, if they aren't, just be sure to eat all that candy.
Yes, and don't forget to do the Monster Mash. Because it was a graveyard smash.
Graveyard smash.
Yes. Are you the Orange Hulk, the Graveyard Smash?
Has there been an Orange Hulk?
Well, if there hasn't been, you'll be the guy who does it.
there's been a purple, green, gray. Yeah.
Give it time.
Right.
Yeah. So, you know, that's what's going on next week. And so, without further ado, as this machine wants to give me what I need, so doesn't always want to do, as we all know. And it's not there, of course. Why would it be there? Why would we want that? Oh. So we do it this way. There it is. You want to reach out to us and watch, give us advice on other movies or TV shows you want us to review or comics you want us to review, reach out to me on Facebook, Lewis.BrightRaven, or with the Muskrat Channel Twitter X at LewisBrightRaven2. You can see more of my artwork at deviantart.com/BrightRaven. You can see Chris's artwork at deviantart.com/Fatboy73. You've been watching Quoth the Raven, Lewis Bright Raven exclusively on YouTube. If you have other questions, comments that you don't want to share on social media, you want to just send me an email, quothravenlbr72@gmail.com is the place to go. If I'll get back to you there, try lewisbrightraven@yahoo.com. And Chris, do you have a episode this weekend?
No, sir.
Okay, so if you want to reach out to him and say, hey, where's Campidi? It's ghthrowingstones@gmail.com.
Hey, what the heck is that bum Campidi? Yeah, I haven't seen him in a minute.
Yeah. And then if you want to reach out to John and find out how does a Disney person get into Venom, it's greatfigaro@hotmail.com. That's all we got for you this week. We'll have a great weekend, folks. We'll see you next time. I'm Quoth the Raven. This sewing machine ain't working. Quoth the Raven. Nevermore.
More.